Welcome in, Brandon Scott of Sports Radio 610.com here, joined by Houston Dynamo FC head coach Ben Olsen. And coach, man, this is a big time for you guys, a decisive game 3 coming up for a chance to go to the Western Conference Finals. Just first of all, thank you for being here with us and let me know how are you feeling at a time like this when with the season's on the line and all of this pressure. How are you taking it all in?
I'm strangely calm. Again, this is what we do. It's amplified because we're in the playoffs and it's a game 3 and a little bit of a do or die situation right now. But I'm confident in our group and the preparations up until this point, and I'm confident in our ability to play in big games. We've showed that over the course of this year, where we've been successful in some knockout type games. And again, I'm appreciative of the moment that we're in. Beginning of the season, if you told us we'd be in this spot, a home game to advance on in the playoffs, I think we'd all be very happy at the situation we're in. So it's about appreciating it, being humble, but also confident in why we've gotten here and that we're a pretty damn good team.
Houston Dynamo FC hosting Real Salt Lake at Shell Energy Stadium. That's going to be for Game 3 on Saturday. Make sure y'all get out there if you can. If not, you can watch on Apple TV with your MLS season pass. But I want to ask you before we get into this series and this matchup a little bit to kind of follow up on what you said about, earlier in the season, if we had told you that this is the position that you would be in, that you take it. What have you seen the most in terms of growth from your team that allowed you guys to have your goals still right in front of you at this moment?
I think it's mentality. I think culturally, we've been building a new kind of a new identity this year. It's been a bunch of new players, a new staff, in some ways a new GM and technical director, new ownership. So there's this blank canvas that we've been kind of building this together. And we've seen a lot of growth in a bunch of different areas, but certainly ones, on the field, the chemistry, the identity of our team and how we're going to go about winning games, the culture in the locker room and the responsibility that we have to each other. That's grown. I think we've been fitter. Our sports science department, the injuries have been, knock on wood, very limited this year. So there's a lot of growth in a bunch of different areas. And it's important for a club like this to start to build this foundation, not just for the success this year that we've had, but we have to make this sustainable. It's been too up and down here at the Dynamo over the last decade, and we got to find a way to get a core group of players that are sticking around here, that are at the level, and that we put ourselves in the postseason over the next few years. So hopefully this is just one step in kind of a successful era of the Houston Dynamo.
So, Ben, this series with Real Salt Lake, this is going to be Game 3 is going to be the 5th time you guys have played this season, I believe. That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm curious from you, what is sort of the benefit and the drawback of going up against such a familiar opponent in a moment like this, and give me a sense for what. Obviously, this is a decisive Game 3. Give me a sense for what this series has been like, the tenor of this series.
Well, when we go back on the 5 games, they're not all relative to this series, right? The season is such a long journey. We played them at different times in the season. There were different injuries, and there's new players on their team. There's new players on our team. So in some ways, we're different teams than a lot of those games. But there is some unique tactical issues when you see these teams back to back to back. And basketball does it. Basketball does it. Hockey, and you see the adjustments from game to game. We don't usually do this in a 3-game series. This is new for soccer in some ways. So it gives coaches, it's a unique opportunity to make changes and make shifts within, from game to game. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to go tit for tat and okay, last game they did this. How would we counter that? And it's enjoyable. I actually really like it. I think the players like it. It's been a physical series. Each game has been different. they came here and were cynical and defensive, and they made it difficult for us. Then we went away. They were very offensive and pressured us in a different way. So we'll see. That's the beauty of these games. You don't really know. You have an idea of how the game's going to go, but in reality, you don't know. So there's adjustments throughout the game that you will need to do as a coach and players. And in soccer, once the whistle blows, I wouldn't say you're helpless, but a lot of prep goes into the performance, and you can only make so much adjustment. So you have to rely on players, and then players have to be experienced and understand the game state and what the game needs. And I think we have a lot of confidence in our group in going about that and being successful.
Well, what's your feel for it, Coach, without giving away any trade secrets for what you guys want to do in Game 3? What is Houston's key to winning this game? I mean, I've read that it's Hector Herrera dictating the game. It's the midfield group that's the lifeblood of your team. What do you feel like it is that needs to take place for you guys to be successful on Saturday night?
I think we have to first have the right energy and combativeness and all these cliches that you have in big games. It has to, the passion, it has to matter. And I trust our energy will be good at home, and that part will be fine. So then it's about the soccer part, and are we making good decisions on where to hurt them? And you can only take so much away in a soccer game. It's a big field. There's a lot of players. So if teams want to take A and B away, we have to be good enough to take C, right? If they want to take B and C away, we have to exploit and take A. And so those checks and ideas, we have to be good in decision-making, and then everybody has to show up. In a playoff game, everybody has to have play to their ability and be the best version of themselves. So if we can figure out all that, we have a good shot. But it's playoff games come down to moments. You don't get a ton of chances, so you got to be clean and efficient when you do get your looks. So a lot that will go into this game, but we're just excited, and we're very kind of there's a nice humble confidence right now with the group. Hopefully we can get by this group.
I thought that was actually a good answer. You mentioned cliches earlier, but now you've kind of opened up the window for me and my guys over at Sports Radio 610. We love nothing more, okay? We do press conferences and interviews all the time with athletes and coaches, of course, and we love nothing more than a good sports cliche. It's week to week, go back to the drawing board, nose to the grindstone.
I think I've said 10 already. I think I've checked off 10 of those cliches already in this interview.
But I'm going to give you credit, though, Ben. I'm going to give you credit for doing a good job of stringing them together to make a really good and compelling answer, and you slid in some personality with it. So I think you're pretty good at the sports cliche thing, which is why I'm going to ask you this question. What are, and I hate to put you on the spot here, but you opened up the door. What are your favorite sports cliches? You're a coach. You've got to deal with media. And I know you don't always want to necessarily say the thing that you want to say or that's on your mind. So you've got to rely on these cliches, man. I know the game. I get it. So what are your favorite sports cliches? Top 3.
Oh, my goodness. That is such a hard question. Oh, man. I've already said them all. They're already in my interview.
Just run back your previous.
Run back my interview. Run back. Listen, I'll say this about cliches, and they're real, right? I mean, as much as we don't want to say them, they sum it up. They every sport says them, and they do kind of. There's a certain brevity to them, and if said at the right time, I think they're still really relevant in sports because details matter, and it is do or die, and every guy has to show up, right? It is. These are still relative to what we do in the sports world, and because there's talk radio now, There's so many opinions on it, and now it used to be just coaches saying this stuff. Now it's every talk radio and every reporter. They all are adding the cliches into it, and ESPN. So they get a little played out. But my coaching style is I'll throw them in, but it's I think authenticity is still the best thing that you can offer when you're in a leadership role. And, I hope that I can fall back on that. I'm a fairly authentic guy. A lot of my cliches have curse words in them anyways. I just had a big F-bomb in there and make it sound better.
Yeah, well, a little bit. Those are the sports cliches we like. And I think you did a good job. Once you thought it through, you came through with a few of them. But
right.
And I know this is not necessarily where we want to drop the F-bombs, but hey, we are in the digital space. The FCC, the FCC and I have a very difficult and complicated relationship, right? Because I rely on them, obviously, but I have to abide by their rules. But I'm more along the lines with you with the language, so I can appreciate that. Let me ask you this about just this round one. 3 of these best of 3 series have gone the distance, and you mentioned this being kind of a new thing. What is it that about this and sort of this that sort of stands out about this round to you? If I don't know if you've been watching around, but is there anything that stands out about what makes it so exciting? You mentioned that a little bit earlier.
Well, it's very hard to go win away in our league. There's travel. There's elements. You could be playing on turf. The last one we played on a bit of a choppy field, and we were in altitude, right? So that all these little things add up to home field advantage. And so it's very, very difficult to go away in our league and win. So sometimes the tactical adjustments on going away and how you play, how you go about the game. And so I'd say that's always an element to, intrigue in these 3 games. But also, as I said before, the game-to-game tactical adjustments that you are implementing into your game plan and feeding to your players, but also sticking to what you know and what's gotten you here. And that balance of change versus trusting who you are and how you got here, I think is a fun balance that coaches have to find in these 3-game series.
What is it about your team about your group for you guys to have the best home record in the Western Conference? Why have you guys been able to accomplish that?
Well, for 3 months of the year, it's hot as hell. So that helps. When you play Vancouver in, August, it's, you have a little bit of a leg up, and there is a home field advantage when it's, a real kind of muggy day in Houston. So there's that. But we've also put a real commitment early in the year. Again, every team does this. They want to win their home games. So that is a sure way to get into the postseason. If you have a very good home record and you're winning, 60, 70% of your games, and you're tying a few and you just lose a few, you're in good shape to make the postseason. And we have not done a good enough job of taking home field advantage over the last few years. I think it's, again, a real reason for the lack of success. So we talked about it on day one on being good at home, and take away the results in the postseason. We need fans back. We got to entertain them. We got to get in our home building, not only send them home happy with 3 points and the win, we got to play in a way that they're proud of and it resonates with this community. So there's a little bit of all of that. And so we've emphasized that, and the guys have come through, and overall it's been really good.
All right, so speaking of resonating with the community, the food scene in Houston, I want to ask you this, Coach. If I go out on a weekend or a brunch spot, where am I most likely to run into Ben Olsen?
Well, since my family got here, you'd have to come to my house because I've become a loner once they got here. We're actually cooking more, which is good. But before that, I was here alone in Houston without my 3 kids and my wife for about 6 months, and I'm not a very good cook. So, I ate out. I'm embarrassed to say this. I ate out every night for 6 months. So I have caught up to a lot of people that have lived in Houston a long time, and just bouncing around. I was here alone. I'd go from work to a restaurant, mostly because that's all people talked about is the food scene, and everybody has a new restaurant, and from the high end stuff to the low end, to a hole in the wall. The diversity is incredible, and the food's insane. I've really, really enjoyed that part. I've enjoyed a lot of Houston. The people have been great to me and welcoming and warm, but the food scene has been a really, really nice addition. I come from Washington, D.C., where the food scene is high end, but here it's different. It's different. There's so many different types of food, and then within that there's high end of each variation as well. And so I got a big list. I keep a list in my phone, and people just keep hitting me with new restaurants. But again, it's kind of halted. I was on a run. I was on an epic run for sure.
Let me tell you, Ben, as a native Houstonian, to hear you say that, to include hole in the walls, and I don't know what your favorite hole in the wall is. I don't know if you've been to This Is It or Just Oxtails. I wonder if Just Oxtails is still open. But there are some hole in the wall places around Houston that you can find that are excellent. And so I'm glad that you're not just, head coach of the soccer team goes to fancy schmancy place.
Yeah.
I like that you're into all of it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I can go bougie. But I can definitely. I could go. I got a lot of love for off the beaten path areas and places to eat. I love to see it all, and DC has a lot of some of that as well. But I'm looking for some good Caribbean. I haven't found the best Caribbean in town. At a few spots in DC, I missed that. I found one or two Vietnamese that I'm loving. Sushi, Kata Rabata is kind of that high end where I sneak off to every now and then. So yeah, it's too much. It's too much, and I look forward to continuing to explore the Houston food scene.
Yeah, I can give you Cool Runnings Jamaican Grill.
I've had that.
Okay. And if you haven't gone to, I'll tell you another place too where there's just great food. I don't know if you've been here, but the Post Houston used to be the old post office. It's downtown. It's kind of near the aquarium.
Okay.
But it's called the Post, and they've just basically got this huge food court. My family likes to go to this Nigerian place there, but there's literally anything you can find. Literally anything that you're looking for.
A bunch of different places within it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So that's another good place and a sort of a newer place. Man, this has been fun. Good luck to you. I know I feel like I kept you longer than I was supposed to, but this has been really fun. Good luck to you guys in Game 3. We're gonna be watching. We're gonna be rooting you guys on. Go get Real Salt Lake, man. Go take care of business, man.
Get after it. Nice meeting you, man.
Nice to meet you as well. That is the Houston Dynamo FC head coach, Ben Olsen, joining us here on Sports Radio 610. I am Brandon Scott of sportsradio610.com. Make sure you guys subscribe, rate, review, tell your friends.